We're galloping into the year of the horse.
And we're doing a cosmic forecast for all 12 signs for 2026. So stay tuned on LOL.
I don't just talk stuff and repeat stuff. I'm living this stuff.
And you can thank me for covering your astro.
Hello, welcome to Leading Out Loud, the spiritual shift show that's cosmic and comical. I'm psychic astrologer Sensei Christopher Wotecki with SiriusToy.com.
And I'm Scott Cruz, psychic medium and mentor at scottcruzpm.com. Weekly checkup. How has your week been, Christopher? What's going on? Please tell me a different story.
I beg your pardon?
I said, please tell me a different story. It's been consistent.
That's the same. Sometimes it's Taurus life. We just do the same stuff, man. But no, that's actually the story. The story is that, I'm not going to be doing the same stuff. And I think for me, the big total of this Sagittarius transit is that it's time to go for what my heart wants 100%, like to go for it in the end. But also the reason why it hasn't been happening in some ways is because I haven't really gone for it like on the inside the way I needed to. And that's what I realized. So I suddenly feel very free, but I also feel I have a lot to do. So that list is
okay. Well, so that's a better progression. This is a better progression. So last week was heavier. No, this week has been like, I feel a lot of it's been putting things in its place. You know what I mean? And so, and I've been saying that's kind of like a overall general forecast of 2026, people putting things in their place, the right place for themselves. And so I just feel like I've been doing a lot of that. And there's been a lot of, the past behaviors kind of resurfacing of like, like it was irritable this past week. And I'm like, why am I irritable? Is this like kind of just past shit going on that's resurfacing? Because I've nothing to be irritable about. So I've definitely been putting the past behaviors that have been resurrecting in check. And so I think that's kind of what 2025 was a lot of that, and when we get into the readings for 2026, we'll kind of see, okay, what does that mean based on why 2025 happened? What does that mean for 2026? So we'll do it for every sign. See.
Yeah, I think, this is a remarkable year for change. Remarkable. When I say that, I say from the perspective, it's pushed by the universe. Like it wasn't our choice. We all agreed that would happen. Then when the actual time came and the planets came and watching the planets, they were literally pushing us and giving us no alternative but to go forward and jump into this like next level. So everyone is on that fence whether they want to be or not. And then in that context, it's pretty profound. Like for me, when you're saying, ending old problems, I think it was part of a 9-year, like this is a 9-year. 9 is all about taking action, moving forward, moving the story forward. That's what it was for me. It was just constant galloping. The year before should have been this one because it was just gallop the entire time. It's almost over. Still, nothing is complete, that type of thing. But this year, that gallop was like really to a whole nother grade for me, like, or at least taking away what was keeping me from going to the next grade. I would claim to be there, but I feel like, I can breathe again a bit. I'm lighter and I'm more excited, and I have a lot of like fun, exciting times that I dreamed about when I was young, coming back for a second round of dreaming, which is interesting. That I got a second round of dreaming. It's cool. I'm pumped.
You got to center you a little bit. There we go. But yeah, but 9 is also a master number too. So it's like I know when we look back at 2025, like a lot of us, we had a lot of karmic resolutions, a lot of, issues where the past has resurfaced, right? Past traumas that we thought were healed resurfaced this year, right? So I always say when those things come up, it is the antithesis of mastery, right? And mastering whatever that deprivation was. And there's been a lot of that. I noticed with my clients, with me, people around me this year with a lot of that, kind of just mastering that finalization of that past unresolved karma. And so, so we have to think about, okay, well, if we've done that in 2025, what does that mean for 2026? So a lot of lightness ahead. So, but speaking of lightness, we have
my whole life we've been facing these issues. These are karmic issues. Just to put a button on, it's like these are issues that went back to our childhood, and they were the stuff we've reincarnated with and didn't know about. Like, so it's like cleaning ourselves out for the first time as a species.
Yeah,
totally. It's gigantic, but as we're going through experientially, it's hard. So it's hard sometimes and confusing. All right, so on to our headlines.
Speaking of hard, right? The headlines.
I think I'll read this week, and who reads? I don't remember.
I'll read the first one. Famed actor Rob Reiner and his wife killed in an apartment homicide. Their son, Nick Reiner, 32, has been charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder. Arraignment hearing set for January 7th. This That's crazy. Like their
No,
own
I
the
can't believe
son.
this. Rob Reiner or his son? This is Rob
Well,
Reiner
his son,
himself?
Rob Reiner, and his wife were killed by their
Oh
son
my,
Nick.
horrible. Oh my God.
Yeah.
See, I learn stuff like here. I don't pay attention. Wow. That's interesting too, because he was just so unhappy, Rob. Like he was full of a lot of anger. I'm not putting any blame. I'm just like analyzing the story. First of all, there are no accidents. I don't believe in any accidents. If you're murdered, it was planned from the very beginning, from heaven, from script down. Like any exit or entrance into the Matrix is planned. Period. No matter how well it is, and I think we actually choose it. We're like, oh, we'll take the plane crash. I think in some cases there are literally exits that people choose because they want to get off the
Yeah.
right point.
Yeah,
And
and
it's
there's
like,
definitely karmic things. Yeah, and there's definitely karmic things. I want people watching all because we're seeing there's a karmic reason for these things does not mean that we don't, bring care to the circumstance, right? And
I think there is karma in this one. Actually, I don't think this one was a
Yeah.
random exit thing. I think there's this tied to some, whatever.
Of course, yeah, it's all very karmic, but our president seemed to give condolences, but also intertwining how he was a lunatic lefty, and I was not a fan of him. It's like, can we just say that rest in peace without all? It's funny.
Oh, I know.
It's
Really,
a circus.
he has to do what he has to do. But regardless, I have the same comment. Rob Reiner was very angry on the net, like very, very, very angry on Twitter. Like angry towards like, dude, just man, don't hurt yourself so much being so thrown into it. Rosie O'Donnell, same way. She's extremely mad, and I've seen a lot of her anger. Now she's an Aries, of course. I'm not surprised, And then who else? There's a third too. There was a lot. So there was some who are angry. So when you're super angry like that, you leave. I'm like, what's going on? What is going on? It has nothing to do with politics.
Of course, not everything is based off politics, but I think the son being contrary to political beliefs probably has a lot to do with the homicide. So it's just sad.
It means that Meathead killed Archie Bunker.
Yeah,
that's
Jesus,
crazy. That's true.
It's crazy. If you stay in that context, yeah. But
Sydney, Australia, more than 16. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm just gonna move on.
No, you're good.
Okay, Sydney, Australia, more than 16 killed at a Bondi beach. Anti-Semitic attack marks country's worst mass shooting in nearly 30 years. That feels very, very planned. That feels very, very planned by me.
Well, they're all strategic. All these have to be very strategic,
This
but
feels like a team planned it.
Yeah, I mean, for me though,
team did it.
I really feel like a lot of this has to do with I'm trying to look for different angles. The cause, the reason, what we're supposed to kind of adapt from all this too, because I think we're so relaxed on our government, we're so relaxed on things in our society that we don't realize how fragmented things really are. That these things still actually can happen. So I think that we have to look at these things in a very intellectual and spiritual way and say, things aren't so secured as we think that they are, and what can we do to make that so? And that comes in alignment to how we do handle our government, how we do handle our society. And so I think we have to be more aware about what is actually going on and why. And so I think this should be a wake-up call for people. And so there's been a lot of these happening in the past 5 to 6 years, and I think it's just there's a lot of that chaos that I said before 2025 it's gonna be a chaotic year, and it's happening even toward the end of that. But I think we won't see much of this in 2026, and I don't want to give out too much because I'm also going to be doing a 2026 prediction in a couple of weeks about my predictions for 2026. I did one for 2025. Check it out. Those all can pass. So, but I think we have to understand, it's rallying up a lot of empathy in people, I've noticed too, but people really want to make a difference, bring change to our society because of all these things that are happening because of race or whatever the case is. So I actually think this fragmentation is going to end up unifying us in the end, but it's just taking some fucking time, for all this.
I feel there's a lot of fingers in this, and from the psychic perspective, this is a team that planned this. You can feel many, many minds on it. You can just feel it. So I feel many minds on it. So I'm not talking about the minds that witnessed it or whatever the outcome in the planning of it. This is something planned. And I think most of them are planned. I think when you start talking honestly, something is planning this. This is not random. And we know it's not. And it's not being talked about, but it's not. It's clearly not. Every psychic I know agrees it's not random. We can feel ties between all of it. So it's it's time we kind of figure what's going on. And I think in most cases it's to make the sheep go bah. It's ultimately these are fear techniques, I think, to, before legislation passes or whatever. I'm not sure what's happening in concert. I haven't want to put any time attention onto it. That's not my game. But I think, when I feel this stuff, I'm like, what I feel is now it's moving to Australia. It's been in our country for years. I don't even know why it's in Australia. They're not even armed. they gave up their arms. So I don't see why there'd be a strategy to, freak people out with gun stuff.
Yeah, last one. The Trump plans to execute action to reclassify marijuana at the federal level now from class 1 to class 3.
Right.
Schedule 3 drugs considered to have lower potential for abuse and recognized medical use, and a significant shift from current classification. So there's a double-edged sword here because one, they're regulating it, but then two, they could be classified as medicinal purposes. So, anytime the government gets their hands on things, we have to start worrying about, okay, what other limitations that can impose? It's going to pose, some threats to, or, companies that are for CBD and wellness and all that. So these things that we have to kind of like look at. I want to read that more so, that executive action, to understand the specifics and logistics of that. But it does feel like, again, they're going to start regulating things with that now, so I think some could be great. Some could also be potential, harmful to those who are in business with CBD and all that. I have a friend who owns a CBD company, and she had to kind of lay off workers in preparation for that too. So who knows?
Well, I think it was in the works. It's certainly in the works when it comes to Pluto and Aquarius. I mean, expect freedom, nothing but the theme of freedom for the next 10 years. Like, freedom is what it's going to be about. And the truth of the matter is, there should never been a law in the first place. I don't think our government should tell us what to put in our bodies. If you're concerned about it, they should force. I think we should force education, and we should get a license. Like, if you're really that worried about it, then make the person be educated, pass the test, get a license, and then you can go smoke or whatever it happens to be. Like, I think we educate our people, not make rules. But for this, I think it's mostly banking. Do you know in Colorado, there's so much cash that they're not allowed to put in banks because of the classification of the drug, and that you can't have money in banks, and banks can't participate with this kind of cartel stuff. But it's going to turn out that banks have actually. I've reading stuff about that this week. Nonetheless, so they've dumped it in buying real estate. Well, that made the real estate cost of Colorado and Denver just skyrocket from the cash being poured into the real estate. So, if you don't give everyone equal opportunity to things like banks, then you end up causing weird things like that. So now it's, I think, inflated, but is it truly inflated, right?
Some people are saying that their stream is frozen. So if it's frozen, they can't really hear me talk. But I would tell people to, refresh the browser or refresh the video, because some people are claiming it's frozen, that we're both frozen. So just wanted to anyone hearing that, just getting a lot of messages. It's frozen. So there's been some glitches, but so that's it with the headlines. Shall we take a little bit of a break before we get into our cosmic reads for 2026 for all 12 signs?
Sure. Yeah, I think we should take a break.
Let's roll them.
At Hair Intelligence, we believe that every strand of hair has its own voice and needs. By combining ancient wisdom with modern biochemistry, we create pure, organic solutions that work in harmony with your hair's natural biology for optimal hair health naturally. By choosing simplicity, sustainability, and science-backed natural solutions, we help our clients transform their hair, whether it's repair, regrowth, or simply radiant, healthy manes they seek.
All of her products have completely changed my hair. I like to call it magic in a bottle. So if there's one thing that she knows, it's hair.
Before using Karen's products a few years ago, I struggled with various hair challenges, including alopecia, and now I've overcome them, and I've just fallen back in love with my hair.
Get your best hair with clean, organic products that are catered to your hair's unique health and longevity. Get 20% off your first purchase at Hair Intelligence by entering code SERIOUSJOY20 at checkout. Rediscover your hair's true potential.
Happy holidays! I'm Sanandra, founder of CT Organics. For the past 30 years, our goal has been to bring the healing power of plants into your everyday life with simple, clean, organic skin and hair care made with love. CT makes a wonderful gift for the holidays. Enter code word JOY30 at checkout and you'll receive 30% off any individual CT skin and hair care product.
Happy holidays!
And we're back. Wow, that was a good commercial string. I have to say, I'm really proud of all of our people have advertised this year. I've seen them come commercials on. They're getting better and better and sharper and cleaner. And like they're looking great, guys. You did a great job this year. Everything looks great. So we get to see our advertisers and our products grow around us. It's great. Just great.
Fantastic.
So I don't want to roll into this. Happiness is here. Well, we're going to talk about the 12 signs and our predictions for the upcoming year. And ultimately, I mean, I think there's two things I'm interested in, and that is what was this year about? Like, and then what's next year about? And I think these years are tied. I mean, like, let's talk about just the general overall what's happening. Astrologically, we have big shifts going on just because planets are moving into signs and staying there. Uranus will move back into Aquarius, into Gemini and stay there. And that means rapid growth of like AI, intelligence, just intelligence coming together, coming to broader, more brilliant conclusions. And so you have this sort of galloping in the year of the horse intellectually. But then you also have all these things in Pisces that we talked about with Scott, where we've been healing our stuff and facing our wounds and all this other stuff. And suddenly Saturn and Neptune is like your inspiration, where you're getting your higher self information. And Saturn's like, what are we going to do about it? They move into Aries. And the significance there is like, there's no more questioning. People have very clear what their morals are. They know they're guilty or not guilty inside themselves. It's been decided. So when that shit hits Aries, it moves fast too. Like suddenly we move forward. The story moves forward fast. It's ego-based, so it's going to have all walks of life. The ones who are still dumbasses doing dumb things, and the people who are, smart asses, maybe not doing anything. And like, so it's the same spectrum, but now everyone's more aggressive and stronger. I think because it's in Aries, and we already worked through the kind of insecurities. Chiron's at the edge of Aries. It's already healed all of our, wounds about our ego and stuff like that. The last time we prepared like this was just before World War II. Same kind of setup with Aries and Chiron and Aries and all this thing. So World War II had that. But then again, the Civil War, basically when Lincoln came in and it started, was all during that Aries tension. The tension is what created the war, the first battle. So either way, we know in history, things get heated up in this next year. Astrologically, that's there. And then lastly, Pluto is constantly giving us more and more freedom to be who we are. So we're being slowly allowing ourselves to be who we are.
Yeah, I mean, just general for 2026. Before we get into the actual signs, I kind of was saying 2026 is the aura of 2026 feels lighter to me, right? And so I kind of look at years and the aura for 2025 was like a deep red maroon color, knowing that was gonna be fiery, chaotic, and a lot of work to be done. And 2026 feels it has this lighter greenish, light bluish aura to it, which to me feels like more innovative. So we're going to see a lot of innovation, a lot of discovery, a lot of things, like I said before, things being put in its place. So on the collective level and individual levels, we'll find our place. So those who are looking for their right job, their right expressions, find it, fall into it. Those who are maybe doing things who are creating the chaos are going to be put in their place too. So justice. But we're going to see a lot more innovation. I think that, we're getting hit a lot with the AI thing. Of course, we've been seeing a lot of this with intertwined to so many different things, but I am actually very surprised how many people can see through it, can tell. Oh, that's AI. Even in the earlier stages. So I think the more and more we see a lot of this, people be craving more of that human connection, human interaction, and the more the human intellect. But I think that we'll find more replacement for the AI. And I see a lot of more, of course, this evolution of space, more connection with space and Mars next year. So I'm not going to be too specific because I want to save that for my show in the next couple of weeks. But overall, it feels more of an innovative year. So a lot more of a lift from the past. I would say since 2019 has been heavy since 2019. So we're getting a little bit of a lift 2026.
I think we're all getting lifted. The volume of just change and the wind being blown off of all that stuff is going to just lift everybody to some degree. I mean, everyone's going to be suddenly, grabbing for their hat. And, I think also it's going to be a profound moment beyond our understanding. Pre 9/11, could you have thought of 9/11? Anytime we've had these major, whoa, we never thought of that one. I think there's one of those. I don't know if it's destructive. I think it's a destructive one, but I just think we're ready for our mind to be blown a little bit. And Uranus in Gemini, especially hit step 4, is going to be probably some sort of a firecracker. But it lasts a period of maybe 9 to 12 months. We can feel that too. That whatever this is, it lasts for a good period. Whatever this, and this is the final whatever. It seems like the final whatever for the human race. That's what it feels like. I don't mean in the sense that we die out. I really don't feel we could. Even if we went extinct, it would take 100, 200 years before we went to extinct. I don't think it'd be like that ever, or anything like a nuclear bomb that we see in movies. I don't think it'll ever be like that. Worst case scenario, we're just gonna sit around in line and be bored, because things are just grinding down and not working like they used to. So for each of the 12 signs, we'll talk about in this next year and maybe where they are in their story and where we feel we're picking up on it future wise. Because I too have sometimes psychic intuition, which is how I do astrology, is through my intuition. But then sometimes there's like hard astrology science that would just lay down the track. So, do you want to start with?
Yeah, with Aries, I'll go first because I feel like good to have the psychic thing and then cross check it with the astrology too, and we could also go back and forth for too. But for Aries, we first got Aries, the Trailblazers. I wonder who put that in there. It must have been an Aries that said that. I do feel like with 2026, the Aries are going to really be telling a new story. And really venturing out of their comfort zones. And they might be focusing more so on platonic relationships, but also finding depth within their relationships because of allowing themselves to be more, I would say, of substance in their relationships and kind of breaking the mold in that sense. So, so there's gonna be a lot more dynamic shifts for Aries. So, and I'll kind of go through career, finances, relationships, just kind of say career. I do feel like there's going to be the telling new story is part of a career shift, a career change, or desire to have a career change too. And that also might even correlate with the move as well too, with a lot of Aries. So they might be speculating moving around a lot next year as well. But relationships, I feel like it heightens. They find the importance of the relationships and they start chasing that too next year as well. And I feel like there's a lot of Aries are going to start being more intuitive. Kind of less rational, less strategic, more about the intuition and really kind of diving in and leaning more into their psychic abilities too. So kind of really a nice, well-rounded, I would say, approach with Aries in 2026.
Yeah, it's funny. Aries are always like trying to be the best. From the beginning, they always want to be the best. And the fastest, the tallest, the richest, the whatever, the superlatives. And I think that's over. And then there were the warriors. And it's interesting because right now I think they're trying to be the best well-rounded human beings there are. Like I think they're going for all the missing pieces they didn't have. They're going for their intuition, their spirituality, which they didn't always have. They're going for close relationships instead of disposable ones or ones that they didn't have that. And they're also going to, I think, be leaders in the world instead of the leader sent into battle. They used to be the pawns that get sent into battle. Now I think they're actually going to be kings and queens. I think they're going to, take on a role of like changing this earth and having like a CEO level kind of like power to go, all right, we're going to change this. We're not just going to push people around or call names, which is the old Aries would do. We're going to change things. So I'm 100% agreeing with your reading. I think they are the, just like they're the ones to go into the smoky building and pull out the person as a firefighter, or they're the ones to, walk down that dark alley we're afraid of. They would be the first ones to do that. They're kind of doing that now. They're walking down the dark alley that everyone's afraid of. They're facing God issues. That's coming up, Pisces. They have a faith in God. They are psychic, like you said. You're right. And they are recognizing their intuition. They're not just all like here anymore, like they used to be all like focused.
Right.
And they're doing shit I'm always surprised to hear about. I'm like, what? Really? No shit. So it's like they're doing stuff that they're really letting themselves be who they are. And I think they're letting themselves follow their heart, who they are. So I would say they're like it's about being authentic next year. And I think that they're going to step out with an authentic self. And with career, they're ready. It's where so at this point, they've changed themselves and they don't know where they fit in yet. So they don't know, like, well, am I, they're not sure where to put them because it's a new them and it's probably new, it's all new. So but they're the most brave to try all new shit. That's, they always go in first. Like, it's okay. You try it out. You figure out where you belong in these, of course. We'll sit back and have a cocktail, says the Taurus. Tell me when the rose built. When the rose built. So I think, go ahead.
I say, speaking of Taurus is next.
Yeah, and just the last point on Aries is that I do think that they have built a solid foundation. They're emotionally healed.
Sorry, Morgan.
Yeah, and that's what this year is about. They did some karma. They faced their karma, so like they're really, really good to go. And I have faith in them, 100% this year. They're going to do a phenomenal job. Just do what they do best. That's what I end up with. Dodging my Taurus. You go first.
Yeah. So Taurus, to me, your Tauruses have been going through a lot of reconstruction in 2025 and defragmentation. And I feel like, so 2026, I think a lot of with Taurus energy and Tauruses of next year is really going to be centered around a new image. There's a rebirthing with Tauruses as well. I think a lot of it's going to come from, I feel like Tauruses have been pushed to be humble, but not in a way that's humble for other people, but more humble for themselves. Right. And so instead of like, yeah, I'll do this for everybody, but kind of like, but then recentering around the self. So that's going to, with career, that similar to Aries, I feel like they might want to not so much change careers next year, but more so enhance what they've been doing. and doing it in a way I think they should be doing it. So like if a Taurus is looking for promotion, they'll get it. They're looking to, enhance their business, they will, right? And so it's almost like regrounding the newer direction. I feel like it's more of a growth in that sense. And I think with, relationships too, it just feels, it's not a year for love with Taurus energy. It's still a year for, understanding the core of friendships and, more about what friendships really mean and the depths of that, and making space for that first. I also think that humbleness will bring more of the empathy, more of the, the ability to connect with other people in different ways, which will bring love, following suit after that. So it is a regrounding for Taurus energy. And, financially they feel good. I think they're going to be wanting as well, Taurus, to find a different way to increase their financial sector in their lives, right? So that's gonna be a focus, and it's all gonna be positive in that sense too, but it's gonna be a lot of that regrounding energy. But I feel like it's gonna help to solidify the real Taurus energy, what makes Tauruses shine, and make it kind of very, very, I would say, solidified. That's the best word to use. But a lot of people too, Chris, are saying that we're frozen, but they could hear us, but the images are frozen. So just FYI.
Yeah, I think it's been recorded at proper speed. Probably we'll just do our best and stay calm. A lot of times it's my client who's so wound up. I think that's messing up the signal.
Once it records and it fully posts, then the imagery will be the recording will be fine because it's not frozen on my YouTube. But just FYI, guys. So what's your read on Taurus for next year?
Well, detaching from Taurus as a Taurus, and not thinking about myself, just looking at it from an astrological perspective, Tauruses have. In essence, they were born feeling guilty. They owed the world something. That was their karma with the 11th house of Pisces. So they've been feeling, like they owe the world something. And so they've sort of, and being people who pay their bills, Tauruses have been diligently investing in being good to humankind, probably because a lot of Tauruses don't feel they had been prior. So that was a huge thing for a lifetime that made the milk sour, in the sense that it was difficult to constantly produce and be, known to. And so as a result, what's happened is I think Tauruses have forgiven themselves. That tenderness is a compassion for themselves now. That they've been through hard times, giving themselves, giving themselves the credit for what they have been gone through. I think that's a big part of what Taurus is doing with Jupiter going through Gemini and now Cancer. Where we're cleaning out our thoughts and feelings to now adopt our true worth, and that's our value of ourself. I think so. Tauruses now know what they're worth. I agree with you about love. In the sense that it's still another year off at least, because Jupiter in Leo is going to give Tauruses like a new foundation or a new ranch, basically. Right. And so until we're on the ranch, we're not going to produce anything. That's just who we are. The next thing will be Leo love. The fifth house, so we'll be following love. So I think Tauruses go with love stuff the following year. Although they might be some. Exactly. I agree with everything with friendship. Aquarius is Taurus is a career house, so we are going to make the age of Aquarius our career. That's our career. That's what we're here to do. We're literally here to build it. And it's funny how Arises are here to live it. I think it's interesting because they have Aquarius in the house of society. They are here to go live the age of Aquarius now and be examples and run that whole metropolis. That's what they're here to do. Yep. And run the metropolis, which is kind of interesting too. It's interesting to see where Aquarius fits in each of these charts. So for Taurus, it's like for me, 20 years, my 20th year at this professionally, I'm just getting started. That's what it feels like. I'm like, oh, okay, well, I probably can do what I want to do the whole time. Which is so that's how I feel with that. Pluto into this in the and also no more boogeyman. I think the Aries energy for Taurus, they were haunted. They have Aries in the 12th. They're haunted by violence. They're haunted by going too far, been an asshole in the past life. That's always the trigger. Now that Chiron's through and Saturn and Neptune are there, I think you're going to see Tauruses be really confident, not be spooked by things. You're not going to see the cattle running because it's spooked anymore. Right. So it's going to be a much more fertile, efficient Taurus. Yeah.
Great. Yeah, it's good. Next we have Gemini. So good for Taurus energy. That's good. A good shift with them. And Geminis, to me, I think that it's going to be half. Okay, because I always split Geminis up in male and females. Because I always get split with Gemini male and females, right? So I feel like for the men, it's piss or get off the pot, and 2026 for Gemini men. And I think they'll piss and then get off the pot. I think they will. So I feel like Gemini men are going to feel like they're going to travel a lot and then feel like I need to ground. So they're going to have a splitting of the year. Actually, Gemini is 2026. Half like I want to travel and just be go and explore, and then the second half of the year they're going to I really want to settle down now. I want more security. I want more foundation. So that's what Gemini men. So I feel like with career would be solid. It'd be more about recreational things for Gemini next year. More about appeasing the self, of course, but finding a way to really bring that into more solidification too with Geminis. And so relationships feel solid. Relationships feel, again, if you're single, you might just consistently be dating. And if you're in a relationship, again, relationship seems solid. No major risks in relationships in that sense, or major changes with Geminis either in 2026. So pretty good. But so if you're dating up consistently in dating, but probably the second half of that year, you might solidify into something special if you're single. But Gemini women, I feel like there's like a change with their career for some reason, or they expand their career, or just they learn something new. They're starting something new, right? And I feel like they're finding more confidence, Gemini women, for some reason. They're finding like, I'm going to go out and do it. I'm taking that leap. I am going to go do that, take that move. So there's going to be a lot of leaps with Gemini women next year, actually, I find. And I think that's going to bring a lot more foundation, a lot more security, and also a lot of recognition for the Gemini women too, like being at least in the spotlight in a sense what they're doing. And I also feel financially for both Geminis, I think there's a nice financial flow for them next year too. So I think the theme for Geminis is really like making your decisions clear, and then you're acting upon it now, and how are you going to ground it? So there's a lot of grounding. It's similar to what I was saying with Taurus energy, very similar. But that's kind of what I feel with Gemini. I'm trying to like tackle, relationships, career, money. But yeah, again, it's very, very, a lot of these so far up to these signs that we've been doing, it's still, again, it feels like a lift for a lot of these signs for next year.
Yeah. Thank God. It's like ascension. I hope so. I mean,
I think we're talking about, right?
The Geminis, I do see that, I always see the duality for Geminis, just like you do, and you're breaking into genders there, and I do think gender is a big part of it with Gemini too. Like, and I think in some ways, like how we've seen Aries and Libras kind of switching roles, and we've seen Leos and Aquarius switching roles. You're seeing Gemini men and women switching roles. Like the Gemini women are becoming the men. Like they are taking leadership. They're taking intellectual ownership. They have been kind of. That I've known them, most Gemini women, they've been a little shy to get out in the work world or whatever. They kind of held on to sort of like the more traditional wife or partner kind of values, it seemed like, and held out for those for the longest. And then now they're like kind of out in the world. Meanwhile, I think the male Geminis who've been all intellectual, raised eyebrow, I'm so smart kind of energy are now kind of like sitting back in their intuition for the first time. And they're letting their intuition's kind of spooking them a little bit. They're kind of like afraid because they're picking up on shit they didn't know was there. So it's like, there's a kind of a wake up call in that regard. They are sitting back past it, like you said. And I agree with you. I think all Geminis are being called to stage in the sense that Uranus in Gemini says, you think you're smart? Well, no, you're not. We're upgrading what the word smart means. That's what, Uranus does. And so it's like, so all of you are dumb, it's like, so suddenly there's just this huge bench of growth intellectually. It's going to happen for every Gemini, period. What's interesting is that AI comes out at the same time. So it's almost like you got this like, running partner just staying on top of AI and being able to come to conclusions and, and speak in terms of that data and those data sets is going to be for every Gemini, I think, an upgrade, so they're all going places. It's being interesting too. However, I would say, with faith, faith is Taurus is, they have had a hard time with money. You mentioned money. The reason is because they have karma issues to have Taurus in the 12th house. So whenever they have karma, they feel bad about it. That bad turns into bad economy for them. And they of course have Cancer in their second house, which means emotion is tied to money. So because they've been sort of droopy and not really dealing with their feelings about sadness and things and kind of avoiding it, they have not been at their earning potential. And now I think they're going to brighten up, and they are going to be, demanding what they deserve. Absolutely. Now what's interesting is Aquarius for them is the 9th house, which is belief structure. So they're here to work out the beliefs of the new age, which is interesting. If you think about it, I was like, that's interesting. Like, because that's more of a Sag job. They're opposite. So that's an interesting thing in that regard. So yeah, I think Gemini's doing well. And then, relationships is interesting with them because they're very solid with their relationships. And I would have thought they would have had changes by now, and they haven't. They stick true to their buddies. And it's neat to see them go through evolution together.
Yeah.
So Gemini.
Well, it's interesting. Yeah. And here's the thing. I'm noticing a lot of similarities so far. And even I'm just like, pre-reading for Cancer. I'm like, there's a lot of similarities, I would say. And I'm trying to do it in its unique way. But again, there's that collective lift going on. So there's going to be a lot of similarities between these signs. So just FYI. But we move on to Cancer, speaking of. And with Cancer, I was already feeling like, next year, it's a complete, I feel like the Cancerian mask takes a thud. Right. And it's like a rebranding in a sense of themselves. And I think a lot of the facades that they've lived by, the Cancerian energy, more so the men, they're going to really see it. And I think a lot of it's going to be, repositioning for love in a sense. I predicted 2025, some series will find the love in summer of last year and a lot have, and some haven't because there's people that are still behind. So there are those that are perfectly in a relationship or just start a relationship with Cancerians that will grow. So there'll probably be more commitment, actually, knowing what's important and the love to me. So I feel like relationships and the love arena is going to be a center focus of next year for a lot of Cancers. And those who didn't do the work, they're going to start really understanding like what they need to do to participate to bring in that quite the unique bond between a relationship and realizing, hey, I've been an ego, And I also feel like a lot of past friendships too. People of the past might also reconnect with them in 2026. There might be some past occurrences or unresolved to where, and I hate to say this, Cancerians, that you might realize that you fucked that one up. And so you have to realize, yeah, I did fuck that up and I need to take accountability. So, but that accountability is going to bring a lot more recognition because you're clearing up that karma then. Cancerians always seem to be behind on their karma, which is not a bad thing or a leveling up thing. It's just like we all cycle differently. And so Cancerians seem a little bit behind on this end of the spectrum when it comes to the karmic stuff. So I think that they're going to have to like come to terms with the past next year, but some that are already ahead, again, repositioning for love. And I just see a rebranding of the self. So everything feels good conditionally. It's like their career and all that stuff seems fine and solid. It's more about the love aspect of 2026 for them. And that goes deeper, as you know, Christopher, because that comes from rebranding your heart. And that's a lot of focus.
I agree. I mean, my mom's a Cancer, but I pay attention closely to all of the Cancers and they are stuck in the traditional role. I mean, the thing is they're responsible for survival. So survival is not something that evolves first. It is the last thing to get on the train. So they're here for the babies. They're here. I'm not meaning to be in a sexist gender way. It's like they're here to bring children, to bring fertility, to bring motherhood, to nurture us and raise you up as kids. That's what they're here to do. They're the fourth house, the foundation. And so the fact that they are the last ones to get it with AI and everything is common, in that kind of sense, but I would have thought they would have gotten like off the narcissist a couple years ago. It's still, they really like talk about survival. Man, they can make a bad issue in their life survive way too long. And it's like,
yeah, right.
They allowed those things to happen. But however, the truth is this, and I keep saying this to my mom, is that the world needs you. You raise the kids, but we need some more mothering again in the world. Like we need another dose of it because we're so bad at it. And these days, people do have jobs. Everyone has jobs. Like we need your ability to nurture and make things better. So mothers are needed. If nothing else, train the robots, will be the ones taking care of us. But there's a lot of work out there for them. They had a lot of guilt around belief structure. They're the most confused by organized religion. They're the most loyal. So they would be like, they were loyal. So they had a hard time getting off of that, those spiritual Christian, Judeo hangovers of the last 2,000 years. They really just felt guilty about it. They could not shake it, and I think that now that Jupiter's in their sign, they're really growing strong, mostly strong with not letting their feelings, sabotage them, or get them caught into a codependent situation. They go racing to be a hero. There's all these little booby traps that they have in their life, unfortunately. And Scorpio's rules their house of love. So for them, love is life and death. I mean, it is like hugely dramatic, hugely, going with the wind kind of energy when they fall in love. So and that's kind of old fashioned too. Aquarius for them is their house of sex, death, and taxes. So what's going to happen is, I think Cancers have very conservative Aquarius values, but I think the kinky Aquarius energy is getting into their 8th house in sex life, which has always been there, but hidden. And I think once they start letting some of those kinky lines come out, I think they'll find that they are nurturing when appropriate, nurturing when not, so they need to find balance all that. Yeah. It's going to be another year and a half, I think, before you see that, happen. Until Jupiter goes to their 4th house, which is Libra, they won't really be ready for the ball because they'll need to change their house. Like as soon as they get a new dress, they need a new house. You know what I mean? Like kind of thing. And that's what's going to happen. They're going to get a new, new way of being. They're the first thing they want to be in a new home. And once they're from the home, then they can do anything else. So I'd say a couple years. Yeah. But it's nice to see them.
Next we have wonderful Leos. That was a good wrap up to Cancer. And I agree with all that too. Like they always, when you lead from the heart sometimes and it protects your heart, it can be very difficult to excel and to let go. So that's probably the sluggish nature Cancers. But yeah, now we're into Leos. Interesting because this year I said Leos is all about resituating your family life, right? And your friendships and your commitment to others, right? So that was 2025 for Leos. I think Leos, I just felt like a new venture for Leos. And I feel like this new venture, it's like innovative, a new idea. I think that would be part of a lot of the innovation next year too, and no matter where they're at. So definitely more creative ideas, career expansion, hobby expansion. And I also feel like the intuition is also going to be, the psychic abilities for Leos will definitely increase. And I feel like now that you repositioned yourselves from 2025 into what a family dynamic means for you, you have that actual security that's really important to you. So now you can start being supportive in other ways and with other ventures. So with career, yes, a huge expansion with career shift, career change, new idea. In that sense, Leo, or just a feeling of needing to do more, whether you do it or not is up to you. And with relationships, I feel like you really kind of settled that this year with the relationships. Those of you who are, with the close relationships. So if you're single, I feel like Leos are definitely going to mingle next year. For sure. And those who are in relationships, realize they have the support to take that next venture. So they understand the foundation and the security of love in that sense. And also creating that kind of like sustainability for the self in that way too. So, and financially, I feel like Leo's going to have a really interesting financial year as far as like how things will shift for them financially too. So I think Leos did a good job. Majority of Leos, where they're going, did a great job in 2025 of understanding the lesson, right? And understanding what the work was to be done. So a lot of them are actually, I'm starting to see in the 2026, era where they were actually participating with that new found, wisdom and excitement. So yeah, it feels really great for the Leos too.
Yeah, I agree. I think Leos and Aquarius are switching sides, like I said, and you're seeing Aquarius is stepping into leadership roles, and you're seeing Leos move now to the back room. I think their power is moving to the back room. I think Leos are going to now be powerful, in privacy, where they're putting together big deals, putting together powerful people, not needing the spotlight anymore for their power, kind of falling into those back rooms. And I think where they're loved and they're adored, and they can, maybe if they had that person alone, could talk them into things. Like that's where Leo's really dangerous, when there's no one's looking, I feel like they're moving to that place, and I feel like they are kind of bored with who they are. I mean, like they did the whole round, and that last round they did was getting the world's attention and feeding off of that. Now they're really curious about impressing themselves. Now they really want to impress themselves. They really want to fall in love and impress themselves and do something that they're impressed with genuinely. Because even though they were never impressed with the world, they were never impressed with themselves either. We all knew that. They knew that. We just didn't talk about it, right? But I feel like with Aquarius, that is like we're literally innovating relationships. So I think I'm seeing a lot of interesting innovation in relationships. To the newest, new like places here. The hotels, they went straight, heard. It's like, so we have these straight nude hotels now up here in Palm Springs, which is kind of interesting because you're seeing this, the straight community go down pathways the gay had been always courageous to go down. You're seeing new doors open. So my point is like, they're going to end up architecting the new relationship is what Leo's going to do. They're going to sweet talk us into it as Pluto goes to their 7th house, and they're going to talk us into living in that triple, whatever ends up happening. I feel, that's where a lot of their work is, in their fascination. As far as Pisces and stuff, they're sexual, and they have a lot of sexual guilt, and that's because the Pisces in the 8th house, like they store a lot of stuff. For one, they tend to be bedfellows with their karma people, so really big. So they end up sleeping with the people they have karma with, and and having an affair. Like that's then the Leo story. They've been cleaning all that up with Saturn and Pisces, and so you're seeing them kind of looking very sober. You know what I mean? Like they've just been like sleeping for days. And you're right. I'm seeing Leo settling down, having kids, and having a royal family for the first time, when they were just, playing prince or princess. They were just playing and having fun, like Fergie. And now there's something like looking at being king or king for the first time. And then I'm also seeing ones that were king and queen are like, fuck this, I'm just gonna have fun, and like literally living more life in that direction. So they're interesting to watch, and I think they will be advising the world's most powerful. You could say in the new world, it's like, every successful person has a Leo behind them.
True, very true. Yeah, and moving on now to Libra.
No, Virgo,
right?
Virgo.
Oh, Virgo. Sorry, Virgo.
That's your rising. Your rising being a fight.
It's my rising sign. Yes, it is. It's funny because the theme that came to mind when I just like thought about Virgos, I just want to say, shut up and drive. That song by Rihanna, Shut Up and Drive. I think that's a reflection of like next year, it's enough of the talk, enough of the overthinking, enough of all. I think there's gonna be a lot of let's just go and do it. Let's be risky next year. So I think Virgo is going to find more of a risky nature, but also understanding the foundation, because I think like they've had They've had a rough 2025 too, Virgos, because we're standing up using their voice, and then but not really kind of understood, but then they were right, but then too abrasive, and so I think at this point they're just going to lead, they're just going to show up, they're just going to participate, and they're going to find that essence to where they could be heard and accepted and appreciated. So a lot has to do with emotional stuff. So there's going to be a lot of emotions in balance and check, right, and being heard and finally using their voice and so forth. So in relationships, I think there's going to be a lot of disconnection of friendships next year, and removing of friendships, but also recalibration of friendships. So there's going to be in and out with friendships, and same thing with other romantic relationships too. I feel like usually Virgos are pretty consistent with their relationships or consistently being single. There's going to be a shift in that. So if you're single, there's going to be a shift in your single life. Even if you were planning on being single, that might change. Same thing with your relationship. There might be a shift within your relationship to where either it goes in a different direction or you decide you want something more. So there's going to be a big shift when it comes to the priorities of such, and I think a lot of it has to be understanding your foundation. Stop moving so much. So if you're going to move, it's not next year. You might start thinking about it, but I think it's about creating a foundation. The move might happen in 2027, but there's going to be a lot of insights of forecasting that for 2027. And there's going to be some financial uncertainties probably within the first half of the year. Second half of the year, I think the financial will actually end up working your favor in that sense. So no deprivations financially there in that sense. So of course, there's always going to be individuals that are going to have issues. So just understand what your voice is, so you can actually get your financial abilities intact, and understand what your emotions are and how they're holding you back and how they're congesting your environment so where you're not really being heard. So a lot of that's going to be clear. Just going to shut up and drive. So that's what I feel about Virgos.
That's really a good motto.
I got a headache.
For other reasons, I agree with that motto. All their karmas with relationships. So they had heavy karma with lots of people, and these are baby daddy and whatever, and then the one that got away and all sorts of. And they've always had I always say that Virgo's 2 Leos in one, because they're step 11 and one is a Leo, so you got 2 Leos in one. That's always wanting 2 things at once. That's expecting, wanting 2 things at once. That always came from a underprivileged house that didn't give them enough attention. But then as they grow up, they realize they never get enough attention. It's like they have unlimited, ability to soak stuff up, right, and enjoy stuff. And that's just part of being a Virgo. But I think they found finally that the answer was not in someone else. So they really, have straightened up. And now they're making hard calls. Like Saturn and Neptune is going to be in their 8th house of sex and intimacy and boundaries. And so they've got a lot of cement there. They've got a lot of cement laws inside them that have just cemented them into this sort of configurations in world and power. And so they're a little scared, I'm seeing, about jumping into the unknown, because it means they don't like it. Like all earth signs, they don't like it when the earth moves, so however, I do think that a lot of their sorrow is gone. Like the sorrow you always saw is gone. They've really healed with all that. It was mostly through people and it had to do with self-love. So I think it was a big deal. What's interesting is we're in Sag right now. And, for Virgos, Sag is the story. I mean, your emotional life is the 4th house. And also it's Sag for you. So that means that how good you feel is really the story you come up with. That's what you have to realize. Like, you're writing that story. How are you good? And you wrote the story that you were a victim or abandoned or hurt or whatever. Yes, it was all true, and you identified it. You got healed. But now that we're going to New Age, you're going to have to write the story that you feel amazing. You have to just create that story and live it. And see, when you live a story, because your reality, you are, I become, we all go, oh, that's how you do it. And so Virgos show us how to be, but it's time for you to change the world philosophically. What's interesting is they have Aquarius in the 6th house, which means they're to live the age of Aquarius. They're going to live the age of Aquarius more than any of us do. Like, they're going to make it real, what that means, what kind of decorations are on your couch, everything. And so they're doing that with health. That's where they're beginning. So you're going to see, I think, crazy transformation of Virgo till the day we die. But next year, a big leap, because some of this, the The shadow's gone. They've got the sword. They're ready to do it.
Yeah. Great. Moving on. Now we have Libra. Now we got the wonderful Libras. Interesting. It's going to be 2026 is going to be kind of a twofold for Libras. I feel like 2020, the beginning of 2026, there's going to be a significant loss. So across the board, it could be a family member, it could be a job, it could be something, but it feels anticipated anyways. And so I think the first half of the year there will be some death in the sense, rebirth in that sense, because it doesn't take it so literally either. But I think at the same time, it's like it's a closure on something too. It's so perhaps maybe you're caretaking someone, you've been doing it for a long time, and that they pass away, and then you're relieved of that burden, even though you're care for the person, like, but they're not in pain, and I'm not over encumbered with it any longer. So there's going to be some sort of loss the first half of the year. But that's also going to be setting you free, where you feel like, I don't have to be so uptight anymore. I'm not obligated anymore. And so I think that there's going to be a lot more emphasis on community and finding a new sense of community, finding new people to be around. Instead of complaining about the people you're around, you're actually going to go and actually mingle with people who actually are on the same vibration as you and so forth. So, and then I feel like whatever that loss is, there's a complete dichotomy at the second part saying you have everything that you need. You realize you do have everything that you need. You do have the support. You do have the financial support. And things are aligning to show you have everything around you that you need because you're not complaining anymore. And you're starting to recognize that, look, I'm just taking a different turn. And I think things will actually balance out the second half of the year. So if there are legal issues the first half of the year, they're resolved in the second half of the year. So there's also might be some legalities or certain people too there'll be some things in the legal, in sector of your lives, but then it'll work out. But if there's not anything legal, then you'll start realizing things that were unfair and unjust the first half become really fair and just the second half. So I think there's a lot of learning curve here, and they're saying that it's time to stop bickering about why things aren't happening, why things need to be a certain way. It's just like time to put it into perspective for yourself now. So, and that's another kind of regrounding, repositioning, energy I get with the Libras next year as well, and finding their new rhythm. And so I also was sensing, a lot more of like. I think there was a lot of moves in 2025 too, but those who haven't moved might start really reconsidering about a move as well. And your relationships will be fragmented, but also at the same time, that fragmentation will boost and elevate the relationship. So my advice to Libras is really stop complaining, understand what you have, and understand what's around you, and everything in every sector of your life will actually end up working out in your favor next year.
Nice. That's nice. Actually, they've had a hard time
As you're falling asleep.
Yeah, no. Yeah, kind of. Going deep in the Libra pain. I was deep in the Libra pain is where I was. Libras have had a lot of pain. I'll tell you, they're in the wrong industry, which was giving it away. And at a time where people have been their greediest, humans took. And so all your karma is in everyday life, which is complicated because it's like sixth house. So it could be a coworker, it could be a neighbor, it could be the garbage man, it could be anybody. You have karma with just absolutely everybody. Nothing that ever makes sense in the sense of a theme or a pattern. So you've been having to bounce off of that too. And the truth of the matter is, I think you have some work to do still because just like Aries, your opposite, Aries are kind of finding their artist inside. You're finding your own hero. You are finding the hero in you, and you are finding that you are the one that has to make it happen. And so you're adopting these Aries tendencies to get strong with yourself. But, because you think of it this way, it may kind of suck because you're not really people who like to go in the gym and work out and lift up heavy weights. You hate that. You like refinement. But the truth is, if you lift these weights, you look so good because you're refined in how you do it. You handle it just with such grace. You're going to teach everyone how to really do it. So although you're kind of last at the table of that, get your hands on it and fix it, you are going to be the most elegant at it, I think, and most interesting to watch. So I think, Libras have a big place in the world. you know, in the sense of we're not going to have a free world, you know, unless Libras themselves start calling on bullshit on things. You have to have a bigger spine, so to speak. This is Aries in the 7th, stronger to everyone, strength in a real way, because you're the one that calls whether or not it's fair or not. And to like friends, family, in-laws, which are troublemakers in some senses because you're laying down the truth, and the ones that create problems and balance. But the problems you're creating is because things are out to call it like you always call it. So I do think that Libras are going to be remarkable going forward. And now from a Pisces perspective in their karma is that Aquarius is love for you. So the age of Aquarius for you is, and I think you're going to be really excited when you get past the hard work, because you, more than anyone does on the whole planet, you love love more than anyone. You rule love in the sense of the way it's and you're saying keep going higher with love, keep going higher for the next decade. So Libras are going to fall truly in love as time goes on. That we can do that we never thought we could do. There'll be another one that's kind of, like the other sign I was talking about. So I think that it's going to take one more year though. I think before they're really feeling great, 100%. But that's okay, because of once you fought the war is just getting started, so to speak. So we don't really need you on stage for a while, to negotiate the treaty.
Yeah, a lot again, like that, a lot of that kind of like death rebirth energy, next year for them, and just it's going to be, and they're gonna know it. They'll know, like, I needed that. Thank God for that. And it will be lighter the second half of the year for them for sure. But moving on to our lovely Scorpios. It's interesting. Scorpios, I feel like there's going to be more emphasis on less of the physical, more of the emotional, intellectual, right? And I think there's going to be a need to say, I'm done with the shallowness, the surfaceness. I want more. So the empathy with Scorpios are probably going to boost up next year too. Many might feel like they want to get involved in the community or do something and make a difference or a change. So the empathy will resurrect. Many will actually start focusing on, the importance of relationships and, have they isolated themselves in their relationships? Has it been platonic, or has it been very sexual, but not so much long term? So I think with Scorpios, they're going to start finding a need to really put the importance of relationship and home. So that actually might even mean that they would probably want to move or travel, and it might be a jump or a leap too. But like, I just need a new home. I lived on this side. I'm gonna be on this side now. So it's gonna be like an abrupt change. I feel like with Scorpios too. But I think a lot of the emphasis is gonna be like grounding with the heart and love next year. Less of the physical, more about the energy, right? And so of course with career, that could be in the career sector too, where people want to change career, or they put their heart into their career and start realizing a difference. The same thing financially, they start recognizing that their heart is actually reaping financial rewards too. And I think Scorpios have to stop trying to manage too much too. Like, I think you guys want to kind of manage and kind of dictate a lot of things around you, and because you have abilities, but understanding how to narrow it down a bit, I think is going to be the emphasis of next year, and what it means for your own personal foundation, and how that's going to have you thrive. So I do see a lot of fun too with that. A lot of importance of like more because you guys, Scorpios can get very much in a routine, but like getting in a way of routine that's actually fun, right? Where it feels new and fresh. So that's kind of how I feel with the Scorpios for next year.
Well, Scorpio's my opposite, so I'm always entangled with them in a big way, and I'm forced to, somehow be influenced by them, because they draw the space and time, and they kind of draw parameters in life. They have been, first of all, their karma has been heartbreak. They were all born with a broken heart. They're all born feeling very tender. Then they went through Pluto and Scorpio in the 80s, so they went through a meat grinder. They've had a very hard lifetime. If you're a Scorpio in this lifetime, you have decided, like in typical Scorpio fashion, pull off the Band-Aid all at once, like all your karma at once. And so it hurts, and it's over. That's good news. they've allowed themselves to fall into slavery, I think, in daily work life, and to give way too much and push too hard in daily work. That's their Aries story, where they've been the hero for everybody, and they're tired of being the hero. They're tired of the ones, they're tired of the ones, the world waiting for them to make the call, because they're the ones that have the courage to actually say the truth. That's kind of how they feel about these things. But I think you're going to see a real shift in their energy. In particular, now that Pluto's in Aquarius, it's building a better home foundation for them. They all come from cold hazardous homes. And so they're built, the age of Aquarius for them is the home they live in. And that home is the energy you live in day to day. And so I think that they're going to enlighten themselves, but with comfort and luxury, and just feeling like, letting themselves feel better to just in general. And you're going to see the Scorpios kind of calming down a little bit as hands off the pistol, a wiser Scorpio, in the sense of being more eagle than Scorpion, going for the attack, seeing things from above and swooping down. Intimacy is going to be interesting, because they are ready to, ultimately for them, Aries has to do with daily life and work, and Uranus going to Gemini is going to be actually them thinking differently about sex, them thinking differently about intimacy, them thinking about differently. So that's going to be interesting, because I think they really are the gatekeepers of right and wrong. At the end of the day, we're all worried about disappointing a Scorpio. And at the end of the day, I think you find Scorpios have a new policy. That's Uranus and Gemini. They think in grander terms. So I think they're going to be giving us a lot of freedom by them thinking higher minded and less maybe depressed from having broken hearts. But the broken heart part is over, y'all. So I'm happy for them in that regard, because they've been sad, deeply sad.
Yeah, and that makes sense, because when we start the home, because that's one thing we both were kind of saying, important relationship with home, then they find the solution to the sadness. They find a solution to the mundane they were in. So I think, I think it's really, really great. Moving on, we have Sages, our wonderful Sages, and it's interesting because I heard this when I tapped into Sag, saying that the cycle is over, the spinning is over, the rabbit hole's over, right? You've reached the end of that rabbit hole, in a sense of, I think that, many Sages have been kind of chasing their tail for a while and not quite knowing what to do next, but in this routine. And I feel like next year Sages will be more of the emphasis of, let me take a chill pill. Let me just stop the cycle. Let me stop the circularization, the cyclical nature of my emotions, and let me kind of look deeper inside. And so I think they're going to find more of importance. So I think a lot are going to want to take a vacation and maybe want to retire. A lot of people, Sagittarius might start retiring or start thinking about taking time off and more focusing on a foundation. I feel similar to Scorpios. They're going to be wanting more commitment, focusing more on home life, but home life also means relationships and settling down, family. So I think they're going to find more of the importance of things, and less of the presentation, less of the doing of the nature, and less of just kind of being on a whim on things. I think they can really find more of an intentional approach to finding the importance of things when it comes to finding security in the foundation. And so, and I think a lot of the Sag energy too is there's gonna be a lot more creativity. I find, right? Many might decide they want to write a book or write something or get it out in a literary fashion, or start picking up, if they're not, don't read, maybe start reading. So I feel a lot more emphasis on the intellect when it comes to the literature and so forth, the literary arts and that nature as well. And so kind of being more introspective and more of the soul and mind combo. Right. So there's gonna be a lot of an intellectual upgrade. So I think, again, finding that foundation is very important, especially because similar to Scorpio with the relationships at home, I feel like it's very similar to Sagittarius. But I just heard they're stopping the cycle and realizing they're going to stop that trend they've been on and stop trying to emphasize why this cycle needs to change versus starting a new cycle. So it's very emotional, it feels like, for Sagittarius in that sense. I don't feel much with career, it's like, they might decide to just change and do something different or do it in a different way. But it's really more about the foundation and their environment next year for some reason.
Well, I mean, I feel I agree with everything. Sagittarius is their karma is their home and family, who they're born to. And so they are the most binded by their families. And so they suffered through their families and their dysfunction. And, many Sagittarius run away. That's what you do. You run away. And a lot came back and started having families, started facing family issues, did a lot of healing in that area. And now I think that the home and family is now a peaceful place. So in some ways they're starting over because they're coming from a good home now, which is the one they've created for themselves. And Aries for them is their inner child. So right now I see what you're saying. They're kind of docile. They haven't been doing a lot. But I think that once that gun fires, because they have Aries in the 5th house, they love adventure.
Right.
And
Exactly.
so if they see adventure, suddenly on the planet, like, oh my God, these opportunities like go on UFO rides, whatever it
Right.
is, Sagittarius will be like, get me up there. So I think they're going to be courageously, actually they're going to do what they do best. They're going to be the tour guides. They're going to be the ones that explain, the translators, the ones who help cultures get along, except now they're going to help a galactic culture in the future. I think they'll be the galactic ambassadors. Basically, the ambassadors to the aliens will be the Sages, right? I mean, if you guys send them any signs, like send them out with the Sages. Let them be a Sag. That's a human, I just had a Sag, went to a friend's birthday over the last weekend. It was a Sag. I was just like, this whole house is full of people that love them to death. It's just like that Sag energy is so golden. So I think we're going to need that ultimately, from them. I agree with you about, career wise, kind of like their careers are always kind of like mundanely okay, strangely enough. They kind of do like these mundane jobs, even though they have these fabulous lives, So I think that continues just like it always has, in that regard. And then, relationships, I think with Jupiter and Cancer, I see they're changing, they're growing right now when it comes to intimacy and letting themselves get closer to people. So that's really where like the scab is like, they're just now finally themselves get closer to people. They just forgiven their family. They're just, maybe it will be a happy ending is what they're wondering. And the answer is it will.
And that's a commitment. And that's a focus on the commitment, like I was saying before, too, because then they're like realizing I maybe overlooked this or I've overlooked those aspects and now I'm ready to commit, So, but that, I did this funny that the Three of Swords came out for them. So they've been carrying heartache for a while. They don't let go of heartache very easily. They've been carrying for a while. So, but I feel like you said, that burst of like adventure, because right when you said that, I pulled the World card to kind of like to coincide, right? And so very much true, because I feel like they will get over that heartbreak and let go of it, and boom, there's that adventurous personality again that we know Sagittarius to be, right?
They're gonna have a second childhood. This is what's gonna happen. They're gonna have a second childhood, and they already were Peter Pan and Wendy. So I don't know what the hell that means, but we'll watch it. It'll be fun to watch.
Yeah. Speaking of Spotlight, Capricorn's next. Now, I was saying 2024, our Cappies, they were preparing to have confidence, right? Confidence through your deep and darkest issues, finding confidence in a way to say, like, maybe I could do this, right? And so in 2026, you're going to do it. And so I find like if there's a creative idea or some aspect that you've been holding on to, trying to work toward, that you finally summon the confidence or have the confidence to get it done and realizing the success of that. Right. So I really feel like Capricorns need to know what it's like to have money, the money they want to have, I would say it in that way. Right. So I feel like even financially, Capricorns are going to kind of have that leveling up financially, because I feel like they've exhausted themselves in so many different avenues that didn't value them as much. They're finding the avenue that does value them. That's really going to help to boost up their financial well-being, because I feel like a lot more of them saying, I do create value. I am pretty good at this. I do have, these great ideas. And so it's going to be more heart focused. So Capricorns, they've been preparing this year, as I said, for them to find that confidence. They're having it. And so they're going to act upon it next year. So relationships will soar. If you're in relationships, they will soar. If you're single, you'll either enjoy being single and be completely fine about it, or you actually meet someone new next year. So beginning of a new relationship next year too for you guys. Obviously, I just went through career and finance, so that's an explosion as well too, and finding your role and really owning it, because the whole thing all along, why you guys have been limited or feeling deprived, is because you haven't been owning it. That's it. So 2026, you definitely start owning it.
Yeah, Capricorns are interesting. I watched them. I have a lot of Capricorn in me. I have solar eclipse in Capricorn. And I find that Capricorn, first of all, they went through a hell of a time with, Saturn and Pluto. COVID was like for them a jackhammer on their head, saying you have to change. And so that they had to let go. Now, turns out they were holding on so goddamn hard. Like they were keeping all the bad together too, like because they hold on so hard. I've seen some of them kind of like jump back into the same old games, reindeer games. Like, it's like, what? You're going back in that? I think those people are just hit a, it's like, I'm like, wow, they're stubborn, man. He's doing it again. Jeez.
Yeah. Right.
Like, wow. I cannot believe he's doing it again. Like, didn't he learn the first 4 times? Like, so it's like, they just will refuse, but I think the irony is like Aquarius for them is the house of money. So all the old oil wells are going to dry up literally, and they're going to find themselves wanting value, and they're going to redefine value in capitalistic terms. They're going to be the ones that make light work profitable. They're going to be the ones that try to bring corporate values to light work and fail at it, because it's going to fail and blow up in their face because it's just not the same world. They're really good at playing the old games and always keeping them and always being in charge of them and always controlling them. Now they're back at the bottom, and they have to start all over again as far as their talent, its abilities. But watch out, that fucking goat can jump past you so fast when they figure it out. The thing is, they're not loving enough to themselves yet. They just got off the nipple, so to speak, of being codependent in their relationships. Like they were very much taking out on their wife or husband at home and not really doing their stuff. Like, you didn't see that, but this was happening. When Jupiter goes into Leo, that's when they have to warm up. I mean, at the end of the day, Capricorns, you need to be more loving to yourself, and you have to have love involved in every decision. If you do that, you're just going to find yourself in the greatest places. So if you just make love a profession, then you're going to go far. If you make anything else besides love a profession, you're going to wait, and you're just not going to see the inspiration. So that's what we're waiting for, is for, whatever the hero is to realize they have the wand right in their hand if they just use it. So Aquarius for them, I think it's going to be discovering those new industries and even discovering new economies, new budgets, new ways of financing things. Like they're going to come up, the fintech, as you will. I think they'll own a lot of fintech, and they'll be, looking at money from a completely different, like Bitcoin kind of perspective. So they'll be leading in that.
Totally agree. Someone just mentioned Groundhog's Day, and speaking of Groundhog's Day, we're going next to Aquarius, which is me, and my birthday is on Groundhog's Day. Isn't that crazy? I always wondered, like, why was I born on Groundhog's Day? 2282.
It's a 13 too. So it's like that's a Grandmaster Aquarius that has Groundhog's Day, and so it's kind of weird. It's kind of like the universe fucking with the Grandmaster, like
right. Well, call me Sensei Aquarius then, right? Because I'm a 13-degree ascended. Wait, not ascended. I keep saying ascended master. What do you say? It is 13-degree what?
You're Grandmaster, but like
Grandmaster. Thank you. I keep saying ascended master.
It also means that you you are the ones who take it higher. You are the revolutionary degree. You are, and so Groundhog, if you think about it, Groundhog's the only holiday where we're actually talking about a psychic animal that predicts the future. That's pretty Aquarius.
That's right. Well, speaking of, so Aquarius for 2026, right? There's going to be, I said for 2025, when I did 2025 about Aquas, I said they're going to really be positioned to be in the spotlight, right? And so 2025 was really the development of that, the training for it, right? And so I really feel like 2026 is when it actually happens, right? For a lot of Aquas. So I see a lot of the recognition with Aquas. And then the other things about us Aquarius, we're so misunderstood all the fucking time. Is annoying, probably from Atlantis, but we're always misunderstood. People are always saying we're one thing when we're not. And so it's just annoying. But I feel like we finally people catch up where we don't have to say I told you so anymore. Christopher, not a nudge. But I think a lot of that's going to have, the recognition for Aquas where people understand us now. So that's a lot of Aquas will be taking the lead. Like, again, so we're flipping, our opposite fixed sign with Leo. We're being more in the spotlight, more leading deliberately, not so by default. And so there's going to be a lot of that recognition. And so I also feel like the Aquas are always pretty decent with money. They don't really focus on it, but I feel like the focus will be on finances for Aquas next year, which will also blossom a lot more. So I feel like Aquas will have more of a financial peak in 2026 that they've been maybe craving. I personally, as an Aqua, I've always done well with money, but I never focused on money. But then when I start focusing, I'm like, I could do a lot better, So, or I want to do better, and so always want to reach to the stars. So I feel like we're going to do that and allow ourselves to want more. So there's going to be an identity change in that regard. And unapologetic. I think we would be very much in the spotlight, but unapologetic about it. But we're also going to learn our proper boundaries, because I think with Aquas too, we tend to have boundaries too much, then we don't have boundaries. We're very kind of have a dichotomy with boundaries. So I think we're going to have the proper boundaries set for this evolution and expression and this explosion of next year to be put in play. So we've been developing that for 2025, and 2026 is actually we'll be acting it out now. So,
interesting. I think that I agree with you. I feel, first of all, Pluto's in your sign, and this is a very exciting time because you are at a rebirth moment. And I think that you really have, looking at the Earth's history, it has sucked for Aquarius for the last, this is the last cycle,
yes,
250 years at least, going back to the United States, the last one. But it sucked all the way back to the age of Aquarius. The reason is because we went in a dark age where we thought all the stuff you talk about is bullshit. And so you have been literally the weirdo, the freak. You have, you've lived in those kind of shadows, maintaining the powers and whatnot. And finally you can come out of the closet and be who you are. And we think it's cool. You're cool again. So it's a huge, there's that story. But I also feel like, you have also learned how to deal with your emotions in the moment. With Jupiter in Cancer, you're really stabilizing your ability to stay calm. You're not oversensitive like you used to be to everything. You're oversensitive. And Pisces is your second house of money. Money issues come down to guilt. And you guys have had all your guilt and stuff wrapped up in money and value. That's why you insist on getting credit for what you say and because you've had times where you did not get credit for what you say. But that was really a measure of, but the truth is, I want to say, Aquarius, that wasn't really personal as it felt. You took it personally. Well, you are the opposite of a Leo, so you took it personally. It was really just a word that God used as a for your karma delivery. Like, where a wizard's going to get it in taxes and in money. Like, the more grounded kind of thing. That's where your karma comes through. So I think you took it personally. It was just like, that's only God's vehicle. So he's going to screw you through your taxes. But that's all over. He's right. Scott's right about that. And I think what's going to happen is, with you free from your own self-criticism, we're going to see a lot of genius, incredible shit coming out of you guys. I think we're going to see some really holy shit stuff. It's time for you to do magic. Impress us. Like, show us what you got.
Yeah, and I will be showing, because I actually going to be releasing a new song next month. So, and I was going to ask you, like, what do your guides say is a good date astrologically to release a song?
You know what I honestly feel? First of all, Aquarius, is pay attention to your intuition, because this is a time of revelation and revolution, and you are the flute players. Like, you are the ones that really pipe piper us through that moment of why that moment's important. You're the Merlins of humans. You go, this is important. If you fuck this up, the whole city's going down. You're the wise men that speak in. And I think music is one of those things where, you look at the 60s and they're like, oh, the music was so good in the 60s. It was so tied to what they're going through. It was like they had their own, play, soundtrack in their life. And it inspired them and everything. I think we're going through another period like that, friend. I think Aquarius is going to be a big part of that music world. And so as far as release is concerned, when they need to hear it, I know that sounds generic, but it's like when they need to hear it. I would wait for the medicine to come in when you see the sickness, bring in the medicine. That's how I'd wait if I was you, Aquarius. You're going to be hit no matter what. But if you want the biggest response, pour it in there right when they need to hear this, because music gets in where words don't.
Yeah, and we'll do it with like a lot of my songs. I kind of think of the timing. Like the last 2 times, I'm like, people need to hear this type of message, and so this message is I'm excited about it, and I'm excited to still be still a human artist, right? Because we talk about like people using AI, and I'm still a natural musician. I do it all myself too. So I think that's kind of something I want to brag about actually now. I never used to brag about, dude, I do it all. I do all the writing, do all the instrument, so now I have to Spirit's like, now you're gonna have to brag about it now. So people know it's like all you. And so I'm excited about this. So maybe you sometime personally you can check the planets and see like which is a good day in January. I was thinking the 11th. My dad is born on 1/11, by the way. So I was wondering, like, we should release some of my dad's. We'll see. But I just also want to kind of let people know.
Totally do all the plans for it, like do analysis. I would say this. Ideally, if I were to just through my mind, just think about where it would be. It would definitely be somewhere around your birthday, because that opens up portals for us to accept that sort of thing. But it's just perfect timing, because after Aquarius, we go through Pisces, we do spiritual reflection. Then Aries, we think about changing our ways. If you want to help the world, drop it in Aquarius, because that's when we'll listen to it, and that's when we'll actually digest it, and that's when we'll put it into action as far as just setting up for, your market, set, go. I think Aquarius is, at the end of the day, it comes down to how well you nurture yourself with that foundation of Taurus, and if you nurture yourself really well and just, treat yourself like a star with lots of, it's okay that you are a star with high maintenance. If you treat yourself like a high maintenance star, you're going to get incredible stuff out of yourself. I think that we've never seen before. So I'm excited to see what comes out of Aqua. So much stuff.
Yeah. I have a lot. I have a lot of, even after this, I have a ballad after that, because I haven't done a ballad in a while. So I haven't done a ballad after the song I release. There'll be a ballad and a couple other, so I'm excited to show that part of myself, myself too. And then, having AI doing things for people makes me want to even push my own music further, because I'm like, I have to be even more unique. That AI is still doing things well, but it's like still noticeable. I'm pushing it further to be like, I'm letting it completely loose,
You know what? I think music and everything has a deeper look. I'll take a moment here to say that I think we're going to see a wave of artists that you have never seen before, guys, on the planet. We're about to see a renaissance of art like you have never fucking seen. Blow your mind kind of stuff for many reasons. One, it's been Mockingbird out of media. So we haven't had really any great ideas coming to hit the media very deliberately. So we're kind of starved for anything that tastes good. But then we have this crop of artists who are going to come out with tools like AI. I think what's going to happen is it doesn't matter how you make it. It's how it hits the audience. And so it's like now we're going to hit the audience in multidimensional ways, like broadcasting in 5D, hitting us in like ways that like open up portals and close them again. There's a lot of magic that AI is just on the equal level of artists with, that cannot get any farther than you guys can. And I think that's reaching us on a more profound spiritual level, which is what you guys are going to do. It's going to hit us. It's been a long time since music really changed our lives, because it's been sort of formulated through these, monopolies in Hollywood and whatnot. So,
Yeah. Well, I'm a perfect musician. The Virgo rising me. It's like if I don't get a phrase right, I'll sing the phrase. I'll redo like I'm like that phrase. So I'm still one of those types of artists where it's like I will re-sing every little part. If it's off pitch, I will re-sing it, not correct it. You know, so I like people to understand the heart and soul that I put into my work. So yeah, coming soon. Moving on to Pisces. A little bit of a detour there, but again.
People may hear your lyric wrong, and you might be. It's like a fuck Joe Biden thing. Like people may hear the lyric wrong, and they may think it's fuck Joe Biden, and even though you've spent so time perfecting it, it ends up going way off on a curve that makes you really famous. You know, it's like sometimes it's just like a weird shit like that. A mistake is actually the what makes it so precious. Yeah,
true, and now I'm wanting to leave the mistakes in so they understand it's a real voice. You know, because they can hear my breath. Like, I'm leaving the cracks in. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that people are going to crave for that now. So, but yeah. So moving on to Pisces, interesting with the Pisces for next year too, because it's funny. I just pulled a Lovers card. I was not using tarot. I was fiddling with them, and so like I just got the Lovers card with Pisces. So I think Pisces going to want to commit. You know, and so if you're in a relationship, you're going to want to get married. If you're married, you're going to want to do something more elevated. If you're single, you're going to want to start looking for relationships. So I feel like you're also going to get out of your comfort zone too and be focused a lot more on love and more relationships and wanting to commit and thinking outside of the box. I feel like is going to be kind of the theme I feel for next year as well for Pisces. And so there might be past check-ins too. So like similar to, I forgot what other sign I said that there might be, I think it was Cancers or something, that revisitation of a past relationship. So there might be something cycle from the past that reminds you to close that door and then to focus on a new relationship. So I feel a lot of that for Pisces next year too. Financially, I think there's going to be a financial good year for Pisces as well. So I think that for Pisces, don't invest financially of anything in the first quarter of 2026. I feel like the second quarter on to last year, that'd be great to invest. So don't make any financial big moves the first quarter of 2026, because I feel like it's not going to be a right move for you. So, and I feel like there'll be like more emphasis in the financial sector with Pisces next year as well, and a lot more success in the career and change. But it still feels very mundane too at the same time. It still feels repetitive. It still feels very consistent. But I think the major change for me is actually saying, I want to commit. I want a relationship. I want to take things further in love. So there's going to be a lot more of wanting attention, a lot more want more of the spotlight, want more being around people, and seeking that kind of validation. So there'll be more of that enjoyment with the community too, because of the need for wanting to connect and be in a relationship. So more of a social increase, social and finances, if they seem to be more of the antithesis of next year. Really?
Yeah, I agree. Pisces were, the most, riddled with spiritual viruses. They had a lot. If you're a Pisces, you came to clean everything up in the fishbowl, all of it. And so that's a tough one, because usually we do a portion of karma and a portion of other things. You just had a full-on buffet that lasted about 12 years. And so, and you did it. Fortunately, you take life so chill that you never really let it get out of hand. And I agree with Scott that, money is it. Like what's happening now is you're over the guilt. You've hopefully forgiven yourself, because at the end of the day, you're the one who can. At that point, there's no reason not to ask for the highest amount of money. Like it's like you have held in the past out of your own guilt and punished yourself, taxed yourself, and held yourself back this whole time. And you always had the abilities. A big part of it too, though, is like the way you think about your feelings. You are super sensitive, okay, and you just don't think about that enough. And you think about suffering, but you haven't really thought about waterbed, this kind of waterbed. Like really just being mindful, like holding yourself in the palm of your hand in a very gentle way, because when that happens, you can really be in a great position for love. And that means love of a project you're on, love of a child. I mean, any love. That Piscean love is so addictive. It's so sweet. And they have Leo in the 6th house. So when the Pisces lights up, it's like, it's Buddha-like. It's Buddha-like. Yeah. So I think that you have these Buddha potentials now. You've gone through the whole hardship. You've out of the desert. It's time to become that spiritual icon you're meant to be. And here's the irony.
Right.
When you're out there bringing this all out, Pluto and Aquarius is in your house of God. So you're just like this 1/10 of connection to God. Of all the God you bring, you're like not even connected yet, because Pluto's got to open it up as it goes through your 12th house. So you're going to be like seeing God in the background when you're teaching us lessons that you learned at 7. So it's going to be interesting. You'll be on your own journey that way. You have to report back what it's like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good one. That concludes the 12 signs there. We did it. We've done. Yeah. We've completed it
for this year. The earth keeps going around the sun. It keeps happening over and over again in my life. So
Yeah.
many things to talk about. Yeah. And, we have some
Before
announcements, actually. We have to bring. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
so well, tomorrow at my live show, of course, I took last week off because it's December, and I'll be more consistent with my live shows every week next year, of course, because I'm also recording too. But tomorrow I'm discussing why 2025 happened. So really talking about the karmic lessons collectively, why 2025 was what it was. What is the theme? Was it preparing us for? Because that will launch me for in next 2 weeks to my 2026 predictions. So I'll also be doing live collective readings tomorrow, but also live one-on-one readings, so you can get your question with me and either through question or even video. So tomorrow it's every Thursday, 6 p.m. Pacific time, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And you could also going to be open up for 2026 soon for booking. So scottcruzepm.com also for one-on-one private readings as always. Just wanted to throw that out there too.
Brilliant.
If you don't like the live thing, but you wouldn't be here if you didn't like the live thing.
Well, that's the thing.
Right?
That's what we're talking about. That's what we're talking about. Like, Serious Joy has decided to go all out, all live, in the sense of we're going to now do SJ Live every day, 5 days a week during the week, basically from the afternoons. It depends on where you're on the time zones, but it's 4 to 6 p.m. Central Time, which means that it is 7 to 7 plus 3, 7 to I guess 10 for East Coast. The point, though, is just to be on the air. Like, we actually have a problem with YouTube. They've been shadow banning us. A lot of things have been shadow banning us, and we think it's algorithmic. Because we haven't got any official slaps on the hands for anything. But we also think that it's like, even like the rebel in me is like, let's bust up those algorithms. And so ultimately, we just want to do a lot of live TV and be there and be present. I also feel like that's sort of the starting ground. I feel like Serious Joy, really, we feel like there's a huge something about to happen. And I just see us, like, my inner child sees us like, as a news network, like, the aliens are landing. Like, I think we're supposed to be out there reporting on it. That's who we are. Like, so I think we'll be out there in this beginning of that. So it's a chat every afternoon. It's guests in the studio. And it means that in this show, we're actually going to shoot this show. We're going to record this show on Wednesdays, right? It's be part of Serious Joy Live. So it'll be the second part of the show. And then we're going to actually take it off the air. And we're going to release on Saturdays. So LOL is moving to Saturdays, technically, as far as formal debut, where people can watch it live and chat. It'll be off the air. If you're a Serious Joy subscriber, you will see it, though, between then and Saturday. And we have other movers moving too, actually, Scott. We're moving Namaste Today and Astro Mingle both to Sunday, starting this week. You will not find them on Friday. They'll be on Sunday. Sunday evening, actually. We'll be putting out posters and stuff on our social media about that, too. So lots of changes, dude.
Good. Fantastic. I can't keep all that, but I'm sure you'll keep us posted on all that too. But yeah, so just so people know about LOL, that we will be here. So Wednesdays live, but the recorded version won't be available till Saturday. Just
Correct.
FYI.
Yeah, it's interesting, and we're pioneering, trying to do. I'm excited about reinventing television, and like it's ready for it to go to the next stage, and that's what I've always wanted to do. So we're kind of beginning that now. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun.
All right. Well, it's always fun. Anything's fun. Look, change is good no matter what. So I think, anytime you shift something, it may not be that direction, but it leads to the right direction. So change either way and start doing new things is always a benefit. It's always going to work out in the end when you make some change. So I think it's good.
Make
good.
that change. All right, friends.
Change, right? What was that song? Who sang that?
I was thinking of Michael Jackson's, Man in the Mirror, too. You're talking about.
Oh, yeah.
But thanks everyone for this. It's been an extended show, so we thank you very much for being a part of it. Well, are we back next week? We are the normal show.
No, it's Christmas Eve. We're not. No, it's Christmas Eve.
You're right.
We're
You're
off.
totally right. We're actually off Christmas Eve. We have a pre-record possibly on New Year's Eve. We'll see. You might just keep watching.
Yeah, and hopefully, if the stream here works out well, then maybe we can repost the stream for next week, because I don't know if the recorded version is going to be glitchy like it's been, because people have not been seeing the images. So hopefully we have record. If it did, and the record version ends up being crappy, then maybe we can repost this if we have a download that's working. So we'll see.
We will Saturday, actually, to start right now.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Well, have a great holiday season, guys, and we'll see you after the holiday.
Happy holidays. We love you. Live, love, be.
Night, guys.
Yeah, we did a long show. That was a good show, though.
Yeah, the 12 signs are always they're long,
12 of them. You can break it on over 2 weeks, but I think that would be, this should have been our pre-record for them.
Yeah, but I'm burnt. But yeah, so, we have to think about after the holiday. What are we going to do next? We shall see.
Well, we're going to be Saturday nights, dude. We're fun on Saturday nights.
Serious Joy Academy is now offering gift certificates called Gifted Scholarships in 6-month, 9-month, and 1-year increments. This is the first time we've ever offered this. Serious Joy is the most accurate astrology service in the world. And now you can stun your loved ones with a spiritual mirror that helps them every day. Visit seriousjoy.academy to make your purchase. That's seriousjoy.academy. Available now.